session is Update in Management of Early Lung Cancer, and the speaker for this session is Dr. Chandrakant MB. Dr. Chandrakant MB is a renowned oncologist from Andul Road, Howrah. He has been practicing oncologist for last 16 years. He has vast experience in the field of oncology and has been associated previously with Tata Memorial Hospital, Mumbai. He is currently working with Narayana Super Speciality Hospital in Kolkata. He is specialized in management of solid tumor like breast, lung, head, neck, gastrointestinal, and hematological malignancies like lymphoma, leukemia. He has multiple publications in national and international journals. So I would like to call upon Dr. Chandrakant MB.
Yeah, hi. So good afternoon, everyone, and I would thank the organizers for providing the opportunity. And after the very informative session by Dr. Shyam Agarwal, so in continuation to the panel discussion, let me quickly present the data on adjuvant osimertinib, keeping in mind the shortness of time. So, as was discussed in the panel discussion, picking up early is the way to go. So, if you look into the Western data, 1 in 3 patients present with resectable disease. So, the problem with lung cancer is even though we detect it early before it has spread beyond the thorax, even then the relapse rates are quite high. So nearly 85% of lung cancers with an estimated 30% of patients presenting with lung cancer. So basically, so it is basically the early lung cancer is difficult to diagnose in our setting because of lack of screening. So with this in mind, lung cancer is a more systemic disease than other cancers because of its vascularity, the mediastinal lymph node involvement. So even though we resect breast cancer versus a lung cancer, the systemic recurrence rates for a lung cancer is quite high. So this is reflected by this particular representation, where even in a stage 1B disease where the tumor is just more than 3 centimeter with node negative disease, we are able to cure less than 50% patients in spite of picking them up so early. So if you look into stage 2 and stage 3, nearly 25% of them are the only ones who are getting cured in spite of early resection. So this simply means that lung cancer is less local and is more systemic. So there is always a need for systemic therapy in a disease where the distant recurrences, the relapse rates are high in spite of resection. So after operating, after resection of lung cancer, only way we had up to now was adjuvant chemotherapy. The platinum-based doublet chemotherapy is what we had, cisplatin, vinorelbine, or pemetrexed cisplatin. So these were the drugs which we actually used. But in spite of usage of adjuvant chemotherapy for 4 cycles as per the clinical trial, we could have a hazard ratio of around 0.89. So not a great or not a dramatic improvement in survival in spite of chemotherapy. So there was a lot of unmet need, because even if you pick the lung cancer early, resect out, give chemotherapy, still you had a lot of recurrence rates. So stage 1B and stage 2 are quite unusual in our setting. So majority usually presents with stage 3, if at all, if you're resecting. So even with resection adjuvant chemotherapy, we could cure only around 20-25% patients, and rest of them used to relapse. So therefore, there was an unmet need to have an adequate systemic therapy in lung cancer to improve survival. So, so we have got an actual success in the management of advanced lung cancer by finding out targets. So non-small cell lung cancer is no longer a homogeneous disease. We always have to find out receptors, targets, and target each one of them. And we have seen if we can target these mutations, for example, EGFR TKI, in an EGFR mutant lung cancer in the Indian scenario, if you take, it's around 25 to 30%. It is between the West and Asians. So we have an incidence around 20, 25, 30%. So this is the incidence of EGFR mutation, and the mutations persist not only in advanced but also in stage 1, 2, 3. So this driving EGFR mutation is not just confined to advanced setting, it's also present in earlier stages. So, so whenever we have a driver mutation in advanced lung cancer, we always seen that putting targetable TKI always improves survival. So that is so even in adjuvant setting, there have been JEF inhibitor a lot in the, which are the first generation TKIs which have been used. They have shown promising improvement in survival when compared to chemotherapy. However, this was not practice changing up to date. So osimertinib is a third generation tyrosine kinase inhibitor. It has all the class qualities of the best progression-free survival in advanced lung cancer. Is the only TKI which has shown overall survival benefit in EGFR mutant lung cancer in advanced lung cancer. So to show an overall survival benefit in comparison to first generation TKI is not easy. So head-to-head comparison is always with chemotherapy. So when osimertinib was compared in the FLORA trial with first generation TKIs, there was a statistically significant improvement in overall survival. So even though there was some evidence that first generation TKIs improve survival in the adjuvant setting, it was not significant enough. So if a drug has to be effective in the adjuvant setting, the drug has to be really effective. There are so many oncological drugs which improve progression-free survival but do not contribute to overall survival, and they fail in the adjuvant setting. So here we went ahead with the ADAURA trial, which is the registration trial for approval of osimertinib in the adjuvant setting. It's a phase 3 double-blind study. The key inclusion criteria were that they included stage 1B, 2, 3A non-small cell lung cancer with or without adjuvant chemotherapy. So the patients should have had an activating EGFR mutation of exon 19 or exon 21, L858R. So they did have a brain imaging, and then complete resection with negative margins were important. And very importantly, the timing of starting of adjuvant osimertinib was important. If chemotherapy was not given, then up to 10 weeks was allowed. And if chemotherapy was given, then up to 26 weeks of duration post-surgery was allowed. So this marks the importance of starting osimertinib as early as possible post-surgery. So the stratification was based on stage, EGFR mutation, race, and the randomization was 1:1 fashion, with total number of patients being 682. So osimertinib is very easy to take. It can be taken with or without food, 80 milligram once a day, and the other arm was placebo. So the primary treatment duration was up to 3 years. So the primary endpoint was disease-free survival, and then they had assumed that it will be superior if the DFS had a hazard ratio better than 0.7. So secondary endpoints were disease-free survival in the overall population, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years in overall survival, safety, and quality of life. So following IMDC recommendation, the study was unblinded early due to efficacy. So they report the result at 1 year. However, the blinding has been continued even after the results. So these were the areas from where the patients were recruited. You can see huge number of Asian patients, American patients, and so on. So these were the inclusion criteria to reiterate. So what we can look here is stage 1B to 3A. So more than 3 centimeter tumor to 3A disease is what was included. So they should have underwent surgery with R0 resection, margin free. And what was excluded was segmentectomies or wedge resections were excluded. And if the TKI was started beyond the fixed time, then they were excluded. So if you look into the baseline characteristics between the two arms, they were well matched. What you can note here is nearly 50% of patients received, more than 50% of patients received adjuvant chemotherapy, and 55% had exon 19, and less 45% had exon 21 mutations. So the study met its primary endpoint with an impressive hazard ratio of 0.17. So in a solid tumor, to see this hazard ratio is not easy. You know, we see a hazard ratio of 0.8 with chemotherapy, but here we have a hazard ratio of 0.17. So we usually see these hazard ratios in hematological malignancies where systemic therapy is extremely effective. But here we see in this trial hazard ratio of 0.17. So this is an unprecedented improvement in disease-free survival you can see the median DFS is not reached in the osimertinib arm and compared with the placebo. So even the secondary endpoint in the overall population was also met with an hazard ratio of 0.21. And if you look into the forest plot, almost all the subgroups benefited irrespective of the type of mutation, whether adjuvant chemotherapy was received or not received. Even then there was improvement in disease-free survival. So there was a lot of criticism that adjuvant chemotherapy was not given 50% patients, but if you look into the forest plot, you can see whether the patient received adjuvant chemotherapy or not, there was improvement in disease-free survival. So irrespective of the stage, so you can see stage 1B, 2, 3A, even though the magnitude of benefit in the stage 1B was less when compared to the 2 and 3A, but almost all subgroups have benefited. So this is the disease-free survival by stage. So you can see the hazard ratio for stage 1B is 0.5, for stage 2 and stage 3A is 0.17 and 0.12. So impressive disease-free survival, and also the overall survival with a hazard ratio of 0.4. So in an adjuvant setting where the events are less, to have overall survival benefit needs longer follow-up, but with whatever follow-up we have right now, so the median overall survival was not reached in both the arms, but with that the hazard ratio is 0.4. So these are other TKIs that have shown benefit, have shown but have not been practice changing up to now. So with this, the study concluded that osimertinib did meet, it was a positive trial, it did meet its primary endpoint of improvement in disease-free survival with a hazard ratio of 0.21 when compared to placebo. So then looking into the CNS disease and the type of relapse in lung cancer, so CNS relapse is a big issue in lung cancer because nearly 30-37% patients will present with brain mets after resection or definitive therapy. So a major failure in lung cancer in the adjuvant, even after adjuvant chemotherapy, is distant relapses. You can see the right last one, nearly 60% patients present with distant recurrences. So if you can give osimertinib, majority of recurrences are local. So the key to improve disease-free survival and overall survival in the adjuvant setting is by reducing distant recurrences and reducing CNS recurrences. So osimertinib is a very potential EGFR inhibitor where the distant recurrences have come down from 61% to 38%, and nearly 62% were local and regional recurrences. So even here you can see that the CNS recurrences was just 1 when compared to 8 in the placebo arm. So this just shows that how effective this drug in avoiding or in preventing systemic relapses and CNS mets. So adding to that, if you look into the CNS disease-free survival, statistically significant hazard ratio of 0.18. And this is such a wonderful drug that this is very specific to the activating mutations. It has negligible activity on wild type EGFR in contrast to first and second generation TKIs. So this third generation TKI is the most efficacious and the least toxic and the best tolerated among the all. So if you look into adverse events, so it is almost in comparison with the placebo. So a little bit of diarrhea is an issue in this particular trial. Otherwise, it's fairly well tolerated. Grade 1 to interstitial lung disease in 3% patients and QTc prolongation in 7% patients were concerning. So this is the other ongoing trials right now. To just summarize, adjuvant treatment of non-small cell lung cancer is not just chemotherapy. We must do EGFR mutation analysis to look for sensitive mutations in the adjuvant setting, starting from tumor size more than 3 centimeters, that is stage 1B onwards. And chemotherapy is not the way to go. You must always expose these patients to the potential third generation TKI, that is osimertinib. This has statistically improved disease-free survival, distant metastasis, and also a tendency towards overall survival. So with this, I will come to a conclusion that all adenocarcinoma patients post-resection should be exposed to osimertinib in the adjuvant setting. Yeah. So thank you everyone for the opportunity and for the patience.